Greetings and welcome to another edition of Montpelier Connection. I'm State Representative Mike Mrowicki from Putney and representing the Windham 4 District of Putney, Dummerston, Westminster. Today here in the BCTV studios, I'm here with Representative Val Stuart of Brattleboro. Welcome, Val.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Are you recovered from the legislative session yet?
Oh, absolutely. I had a great summer. It's been really a good summer. So,
good.
Yeah, good weather.
It's been
no tropical storms.
Great weather after last year's storm, which we just passed the anniversary of.
I know. That was poignant.
Yeah, it really was. And I'm glad that the governor was in town to commemorate a lot of the work that has been done and the work that's still to be done.
Absolutely.
And reminding people that there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still people who are hurting and homeless,
you bet.
Trying to rebuild their lives, and we don't want to forget there's still more work to be done there.
Absolutely.
We are, as we just talked about a little bit, basking in the afterglow of the Democratic National Convention, and most especially Michelle Obama's speech last night.
She was amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah.
She speaks so from the heart. She's never forgotten her roots, and comes from such humble beginnings, and then went to Princeton and went on to become the president's wife. And what does he call her? Mom in Chief.
Mom in Chief, yeah.
They're an amazing family.
Really compelling stories, and she expresses herself so eloquently as well. It's something to behold, and I think she captivated the people there and the people at home in a way we haven't seen in quite a while.
Absolutely. She's a great speaker.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot to talk about, and I appreciate you taking the time to come in here.
Thank you.
Maybe we could look back at the last session a little bit.
Sure.
And then look ahead.
Sure.
Not to be presumptuous, but both of us are running again, and at the last look, neither one of us had opposition.
Yeah.
Although I'm starting to plan my campaigning now. And
Me too.
My
Me too.
time to go out and meet with voters and listen.
Absolutely.
Looking back, is there any things that jumped out at you and that you feel like you'd especially like to make note of from the last session?
I just thought it was an incredible session with the basically the challenges we had in terms of Tropical Storm Irene recovery and that sort of thing. I thought it was amazing that we rebuilt our roads and bridges so rapidly. We helped people get back into their homes. Not everyone, of course, and as you just said, we need to continue to work on that. But we redid the state hospital system, and so we just have a lot of achievements to be really proud of. And all the same at the same time, we balanced the budget, which I thought was really neat. So. I think some of the really nice things that happened for this area are the 14, beds that were added to the Brattleboro retreat. That means jobs for this area, of course, and good care for patients, and also S99 legislation with regard to the mobile home parks. I thought that was a really great thing. Some of my dearest constituents, like Tom May, who lives at Tri-Park and is very actively involved in the board, were just so thrilled that we passed legislation with an amendment that basically allowed them to defer for 2 years repayment of the loan for the water and sewage upgrades that they recently completed. And by allowing Tri-Park to defer those loans, this legislation will allow them to recoup or replenish the $250,000 in their reserve fund that was depleted due to unexpected costs associated with Tropical Storm Irene. So that was something that just made me really happy as well.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course, how could we forget the $1.5 million that came through the appropriations bill for the Brattleboro Regional Academic Campus, which I think is really an exciting
I think a lot of us are excited about what this could do for the downtown of Brattleboro.
No question.
And for the whole area.
Absolutely.
But I think it would be another way of turning the really unfortunate circumstances of the Brooks House fire into a positive for this area. And
Absolutely.
I think Our governor talked about this in his State of the Union
He
address.
sure did. It was,
And,
yeah.
and here it is, and I think it's another feather in his cap.
It really is a feather in his cap for proposing the idea, which was maybe somewhat controversial at the beginning, but now we're talking about. I was talking to Jeff Lewis from BDCC and Brattleboro Development Credit Corp, and he said that by the end of October, they look forward to looking at a proposal from the state colleges, a concrete proposal about the Brattleboro Regional Academic Center. So I think it's just amazing. And as I'm sure you're well aware, there was $2 million also in the capital bill for the Vermont State Colleges, and some of that money can also be used for the Brattleboro Regional Campus. So I just think it's a great thing.
Yeah, it ties into the president's plan for moving the country forward. It ties into the governor's plan.
Right.
Education, innovation. These are ways we continue to move ahead. We bolster the middle class, which has been under attack, and especially for families who haven't had people in their family go to college yet. We're really working hard to expand the middle class, and without these educational opportunities, we know it's not possible in this world as we're going forward.
Absolutely.
So I'm
Yeah, and I really applaud SEVIDS, this Southern Vermont Regional, the Southern Vermont Economic Development Group, for their work, because they are just really focusing on what do we need to revitalize the Windham County area post-VY economy, whenever that is.
That's right.
Whether the plant closes tomorrow or in 10 years, we need to prepare.
Exactly. At some point, it's going to close.
Absolutely.
And I think that Jeff has shown some good foresight into organizing some of these efforts. Laura Sibilia is part of that, and I appreciate their efforts, because it is a huge economic factor that we need to look at. We appreciate that we can work together with them as well, and it's good that the legislature has been right there with them.
Absolutely.
Now, you're on the education committee.
Yeah, I'm on the education committee. Speaking of education,
yeah, education continues to make news for lots of reasons, and like most other systems in our culture, it's having to grow, evolve, and change. What kind of things happened in the last session? What kind of things are we looking ahead to? One of the things that I saw in the paper that caught my eye is that they're starting a nationwide search for the next, or the first, Secretary of Education, as this will become a cabinet level position in the next administration, and hopefully Governor Shumlin can continue his good work.
Absolutely.
In this area. What other things are happening?
Well, the other things in education that are happening are, let's see, well, speaking of first in a generation, earlier you alluded to first in a generation people to go to college, dual enrollment programs and the expansion of them statewide is something that we worked on during the last session. And we passed a bill which basically requires the entire state to look at, for high schools and colleges, to look at opportunities to offer dual credit programs or courses to students. We have a great dual enrollment program here in Brattleboro where 250 students are involved each year, and they can take anything from Chinese to accounting and engineering courses, one of 33 courses, and get credit, both college credit and high school credit. And that is a great way to save money for middle class and middle income families, for everybody, because they get a dual enrollment course for much less money. And it also, first generation in a family to attend college, it basically gives them the feeling, or the confidence to know that they can handle college level coursework and that sort of thing. So one of the things we did is pass legislation that increases access to dual enrollment, or its objective is to increase access to dual enrollment.
And by that you mean they're in high school, but they can take college courses. Yeah,
exactly. The thing we weren't successful at, just quite truthfully, and I know it was a disappointment to some people, who, particularly people here at Brattleboro Union High School, who worked so hard to lobby the legislature to also put some money behind this program, like, you know, Ron Staley and Tom Yan here in Windham Southeast, but was the funding piece. And part of the problem is because our traditional funding streams are pretty much dedicated to either elementary and high school. That's one pot of money. And then the other pot of money is college. So I think over the long term, we're going to have to figure out some way as a state to be better at funding the continuum of education, which is really the wave of the future, I think.
And these are really new avenues
absolutely.
that we're paving. I think that's part of why it was difficult to figure out
absolutely.
between UVM and the state colleges and then the high schools. Is that what was happening?
Yeah, exactly. So it was just, you know, the Ways and Means and Appropriations committees in the House, I mean, they just, during these fiscally tight times, it was very hard for them to, you know, say, yes, we'll take some money out of the college pot and put it toward this, or yes, we'll take some money out of the elementary and high school pot. So, but we'll figure that out over the long term. And I think ultimately some of these programs will be funded, so particularly lower income students can actually have access to these very affordable courses.
One of the things that we're hearing at the Democratic National Convention is that education is an investment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that we hear talk of other kinds of investments, but this is a very clear investment in our future, our children.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great use of our state resources, and a wonderful investment in the future. Our children deserve this.
No question. And actually, a Harvard study recently concluded, Mike, that the best investment we can make in education that pays off the best is teacher quality.
Yeah.
Making sure that we attract, maintain, and nurture high quality teachers. So one of the things, Bill, I'm very interested in co-sponsoring with a colleague of mine this session is a bill to basically require new teachers to be mentored during their first 2 years of school, you know, basically teaching. And we passed such a bill in 2011 for principal mentoring, and it's been very successful, and it also does a great job of helping narrow the achievement gap, which is basically the gap caused by socioeconomic inequality. And I'm really interested in figuring out how to narrow the achievement gap, because it's just amazing the difference between how lower income and disadvantaged students do on tests and that sort of thing. And it costs our state a lot of money at the end of the day. So if we can figure out a way to make lower income children successful, and having a great principal who basically sets a very nurturing tone for a school, makes the children feel welcome and comfortable and taken care of. Well, you know better than anybody because of your work. It's really important for kids to feel nurtured and cared about and that sort of thing, and then they can do much better in their studies.
I agree. I think that those attachments children make from family to school are what make learning effective. And,
absolutely.
There's nothing like it. Where kids feel connected, they do the best.
Yeah, so good teachers, good principals, those are two really good ways. Another really good way to address the achievement gap is focusing on literacy. And there's some really interesting, exciting ideas out there about how to make sure that we do a better job of diagnosing learning disabilities early and then teaching so that those kids have the same opportunity to learn to read and do math and all those things as other kids. So the achievement gap is something I'm really interested in addressing, because it costs our state a lot of money, and it's not only a loss of financial capital, but it's a loss of human capital. So
well, thanks for your work on that committee, and look forward to hearing as we go through. I think Vermont does a great job educating our kids. I think we're especially lucky here in Brattleboro. Both of our kids went to Brattleboro High School, and we saw what's possible, how public schools can really shine and kids can thrive there.
Absolutely.
When you have community support, when you have qualified and dedicated educators the way we do here, and that's one of the things that I think Brattleboro could be a model for.
Brattleboro is a model for that. We really,
perhaps we can help that be replicated across the country.
Yeah,
And,
that would be,
and see what we're doing here in Vermont.
that would be really, really nice.
Any other pieces of the last session that you, outside the realm of education, that you'd like to make mention of?
Oh, well, I think the healthcare benefit exchange is a really exciting accomplishment.
Yeah.
And it's really wonderful, too, that this recent Supreme Court decision was in favor of what's called Obamacare,
Right.
and found that the individual mandate that everyone have health care is in fact constitutional. So I thought that was really, really great. That is a very good thing for Vermont because, as you well know, it means we can draw down a lot of federal dollars to help lower income and middle class individuals basically afford good health care. So so we did a really good job of putting together a healthcare benefit exchange. It's kind of like Expedia or Travelocity, where consumers will be able to go online and compare different plans and decide which plan they want and can afford.
And that will be online this year or next year?
I think 2014.
Yeah, 2014.
I think so.
Okay,
So even another.
Yeah.
I think the whole benefit exchange is supposed to be up and running in 2014.
Yeah.
And it's going to be phased in terms of who's required to participate, as I'm sure you know, maybe our viewers don't know, but by 2014, businesses of under 50 will need to participate, and then 20
individuals can also participate in that.
Yes.
And the other piece I think that we should note is that there will be monies available for people to help buy their insurance. I think that's one of the core pieces of this, is that people who are struggling now to pay for their health insurance will get assistance from the government, both state and federal government.
Absolutely.
And businesses as well will be receiving assistance, and I think that levels the playing field for those people who are already providing benefits and those who aren't. And I think that economically that helps everybody, and of course the main thrust of this is we want to improve health outcomes.
Absolutely. Health outcomes, and also we want to bring down the cost of healthcare in our state, which is really crippling business because it's been growing for far too long at double-digit rate. So I think that if we can offer affordable health care to all, we will ultimately bring down our costs and be a happier, healthier society for it.
And what I keep saying about this too is it makes sure that our healthcare dollars get spent on healthcare.
Right.
And I think that's an essential piece of cost control.
Right.
And improving our health outcomes.
Right.
We don't need for this to be a for-profit business the way paving roads is.
Right.
This is healthcare. This
Absolutely.
is more important. We do it for our children. We should do it for our whole culture, and we can. We're like you pointed out, this decision by the Supreme Court allows us to continue on the road to progress moving forward.
It's a really good thing, and the governor is very dedicated to universal health care. So I really am excited about that. I think it'll be a great thing for our citizens. And so
moving ahead.
Yeah.
We have there's elections coming up.
Yes.
There's time for us to go out on the campaigns and start meeting with people.
Absolutely.
And then we'll be moving ahead to the next session in January before we know it. You talked about one bill that you were interested in, the teacher mentoring bill.
Yeah.
Are there any other bills that you're thinking about or pieces of legislation that you'd like to see move forward?
Well, one thing I'm really interested in, and I'm going to go to a conference at the end of September about, Mike, is basically changing the way we fund state colleges. There's a move in, 7 states are currently basically moving toward a situation or a policy where they fund state colleges based on graduation rates and retention rates and that sort of thing. Right now, state colleges are funded per student, how many full-time students they have at the beginning of the semester. So there is a move to change that equation so that more high school students who enter college will actually graduate. And you know, we have amazing graduation rates in Vermont, as I'm sure you're well aware. They're like 87.9, I think. And the rest of the nation is like 75%.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, we're the second highest, according to 2009 survey after Wisconsin in terms of high school graduation rates. But in terms of college, for instance, four-year publicly funded state colleges, our graduation rates are, it's like, I don't know, 36% of the kids graduate in approximately 4 years, and then like 63 or somewhere thereabouts graduate after 6 years. So it would be really great if we rewarded colleges for not only getting the kids there, but getting them out on a timely basis. So I'm really interested in, like 23 other states are considering moving toward that kind of funding system, and I'm really interested in the possibility of sponsoring some sort of legislation that might influence or change the funding equation to, you know, basically be based on getting kids out of college. And, you know, as you know, a well-prepared workforce and well-educated workforce is one of the things we really need in this state to make sure that we're economically viable and vital.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in that. I'm also very interested in pre-K, preschool, all that kind of early learning.
I was going to ask about the other end of the equation.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of really interested in the two ends of the equation and everything else in between too. But and yeah, preschool and pre-K. During the last session, we basically passed a piece of legislation that lifted the pre-K caps, so that every school system can determine whether they'd like to offer more pre-K opportunities to their children. And I thought that was really exciting. They're in charge of whether it's going to be funded, whether it's going to happen.
And we're doing that in Putney.
Are you?
We are. We started a pre-K. You know, Head Start was in Putney, and then they pulled out, and we decided, with the help of the Permanent Fund and Mark Sustek and them, a lot of people in Putney pulled together, Ann Fines especially, Elizabeth Christie, and the principal, and we now have a pre-K right at the school. So we're now a pre-K through 8 school in Putney, at Putney Central School.
Oh, really? That's great. And what's the pre-K? How many hours is it?
Well, it starts. It's a full day, and then there's an after-school component for working parents that need that. That is so great. Yeah. Because our school system schedule is also so hard for working parents. Well, that's one of the key pieces. I mean, I'm sure you know that. I'm sure I imagine you worked when your kids were in school. I definitely did, including when they were little, and it was. That's why I started working in childcare. Really hard. Oh, right. The schedule was right. You could have your kids there. You could have the kids there. I could be with them. Oh, amazing. Yeah. So I think ways to basically foster pre-K and preschool learning and, you know, rich educational environments for kids is just really important. Yeah. And also affords working parents, you know, the opportunity to have, you know, daycare. Sure. So, again, an investment in our future. Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm interested in exploring that kind of legislation as well. You know, what else can we do, kind of thing. Yeah. Well, our time is going fast again. Okay. Appreciate you taking some time this afternoon and coming in. If people want to get in touch with you. Oh, sure. Well, let's see. They can address me or send me an email at vstewart@ledge.state.vt.us, or they can call me at 802-257-0249. And eventually they'll be able to go to a website, but that's under construction. So on our next show, I'll tell you what the web address is. And but yeah, I really would love to hear from people. I'm really looking forward to going out and knocking on doors. And I just got my little postcard done and meeting with people to hear what their concerns are, so we can bring their voice up to Montpelier and lobby on their behalf. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mike, for having me. I enjoyed talking with you. And thanks again for joining us. Another edition of Montpelier Connection. Thanks again to the people at BCTV, especially Roland, who's pulling the production of this together and doing it all. We appreciate their role in helping to bring our work closer to your lives. And so, as Val said, we can bring your concerns directly up to Montpelier. Until next time, this is Mike Mrowicki. Thanks for watching.